What is up, Hawk fans? This is going to be the post-game video for Iowa's 89-80 loss to the Iowa State Cyclones. The main stat that you guys need to know as to why Iowa lost, although there are, maybe one or two others that are big major stats, is, and I jotted it down when the game happened, like a minute or two after the game, or a minute or two after it happened, because I knew that this is where it was going. I've told you guys many times that basketball is the sport that I am far and away the most knowledgeable about. And that stat is at the 11:38 mark. Iowa was leading 62-53. Many times throughout the game, Iowa was around that 7 to 12 point lead mark, approaching, pushing it to, 14, 15, they were so close to getting it over that barrier, but just never could, which I'll circle back to. But the stat is 62-53 at the 11:38 mark, and with about 2 or 3 seconds later, Iowa State nails a 3-point shot, and of course the final score ended up being 89-80. So Iowa State went on to score 36 points to finish the game from the 11:38 mark until the close of the game. And Iowa ended up scoring 18 points. 80 minus 62, I think, is 18. 10 minus 2, 8, carry the 1. 7 minus 6 is 1. 18 points. And that's the difference in the game right there, guys. I got to jot that down really quickly just so I can reference it later. 36-18. And it made all the difference in the world. And, brutal. And throughout the game, I kept saying to myself, because I was able to watch the first half all the way through, and then as the second half came, I had to get ready to go work some varsity basketball games, and I kept saying to myself, man, Iowa needs to extend this lead. They need to get it over the hump. They need to extend this to 15-18, because Iowa State, for whatever reason, they don't have it tonight. They're not looking the best. They don't seem to be playing the hardest. They're kind of playing Iowa's game. I mean, it was Iowa was controlling the game. Of the two teams, of the two tempos, Iowa was the team that was on top for 75% of the game, maybe 65%. And that is the thing, is that especially in basketball, where it's a game of runs, you have to be able to put your foot on the neck of your opponent, especially when they are the number 3 ranked team in the entire country. And credit Iowa State, credit their coach, who has come to Iowa State and really turned that program around. I mean, Steve, who was it? Steve Prom. Let me pull up Iowa State's thing so I can find who their head coach is here. It was Steve Prom, who maybe had like 1 year of success, and then TJ Ola, whatever his last name is, has come to Iowa State and really done a great job. And the thing is that yes, they do recruit for the most part well, they're still not the best recruiting team. They recruit better than Iowa does, but there's actually still a lot of guys that have been like top 150, top 200 guys that they've landed, like Taman Lipsey, and has been like a prominent player that Iowa State has helped develop under TJ. So, but TJ Otzelberger. So anyways, throughout the game, I kept telling myself, I know that this is going to come back to bite Iowa. I know that turnover is going to come back. I know that missed rebound. I know that missed shot. If you guys don't remember, way back when, and that team is not even, that I'm about to give you an example, is not even as good as this Iowa State team. But way back when, Jared Utoff went off for like 30 points in the first half on the road against Iowa State, was just dominating that game, was the best player on the court, scoring all over the court. Now, he didn't, in the second half, Iowa State put the clamp on him, but he still balled out that game. And Iowa State still won that game by like 1 point or 2 points. And that Iowa State team isn't even as good as this Iowa State team. Iowa failed to close the door on Iowa State. And what they also failed to do is not only close the door at home, which was, in my opinion, a very feasible thing that they could do. But see, that is what elite teams do. Elite teams like Iowa State find ways when it's not their best night, when they don't maybe have it in here, to will themselves to victory, to keep the game close enough so that they can give one strong effort to get this game home and win that game. But not only did Iowa fail to close the door, they also failed to extend the lead enough to shoulder whatever run Iowa State was going to inevitably have within them, because you know that the number 3 team in the country has that within them. And, you know, I was thinking this the other day because I saw Missouri upset with oh my gosh, with our former point guard, Tony Perkins. I saw them upset Kansas. And I thought to myself, why can't Iowa do that? Iowa, if Missouri can do it, Iowa can definitely do it at home, just like Missouri did. And it just bums me out so much that Iowa is leaving this game out there. This is definitely going to be the game that Iowa looks back on, and fans alike, that look back and say, man, that was a missed opportunity. That was a missed game for Iowa to put themselves squarely in the NCAA tournament conversation this early in the year. Now Iowa has to play catch up. It's not that they're like terribly far behind, because all their losses are decent losses, but this year is honestly really stacking up like last year, where Iowa failed early on to get quad 1 victories early on. Failed. Now they don't have any other quad 1. I mean, maybe Utah, but I think that's going to end up being a quad 2 game. So any quad 1 victories that Iowa gets, Missouri beat number 1 Kansas. Any quad 1 victories that Iowa gets are going to have to be in the Big Ten. And that's tough. You know, when you want to make the NCAA tournament as an at-large team that doesn't win a conference tournament, you have to at least get one quad 1 victory in your non-conference. And if you can't do that, you're playing catch up from then on. And so this Iowa team is very similar. Now, what I will say is it's not a like for like comparison, because last year Iowa got the door blown off against Iowa State. Now, it was at Iowa State, which is a totally different animal, but they still got the door blown off. And I do think that it says something that Iowa was able to compete with the number 3 team in the country. Now, they still ended up losing by 9, which is insane. Guys, you know how crazy it is that Iowa ended up losing by almost double digits to a team that they were leading for 60 to 70% of the game. That is insane. But overall, I would say that it's a good sign. But Iowa's biggest problem is they don't have a go-to guy. They don't have the it factor to get them over the hump to win close games. Matter of fact, on some of the rating websites, Iowa's like luck percentage of winning close games is like one of the worst in the entire country. Why? Because they don't have an alpha male on the team. Sometimes Owen Freeman's the best player. Sometimes Josh Dix is the best player. Sometimes Peyton Sandfort's the best player, especially if he's having a hot shooting night. But unfortunately, Peyton Sandfort has not taken a big enough step forward to propel himself like an Aaron White or a Jared Utoff or a Peter Jock or a Luka Garza to be a official alpha male on the team. I mean, he's still a good player, but he's not the alpha of the team. But in fairness, neither is Owen Freeman, neither is Josh Dix. I think it should be Josh Dix. I think that Josh Dix is the best player down the stretch that Iowa needs to find ways to get the ball to. And I do think that they need to be more purposeful in trying to feed the ball down to Owen Freeman and get easy buckets or easier buckets around the rim. Iowa really did not look for Owen Freeman down low like for post-ups pretty much all game. So the team stats here, Iowa held Iowa State to 44.3% shooting, which is actually not terrible. I'm okay with that. Iowa shot 44.4%. They both shot 39.3% from 3, which is crazy considering the hot start that Iowa had to the game shooting 3-point shots and the cold start that Iowa State had. Free throws, Iowa did do better. They shot 86% compared to Iowa State's 72%. But here is the other main issue. Iowa got out-rebounded 46-34, and that's the biggest problem that this Iowa team has is rebounding. They have been consistently out-rebounded this season multiple times by double digits, and that's a problem. That is a huge problem. I'm not sure that is sustainable in Big Ten play. I'm just not. Sorry, guys, my neck is killing me. Iowa allowed 18 offensive rebounds from Iowa State. They both had 9 turnovers. Iowa State had 7 steals compared to Iowa's 5. 18 assists for Iowa, 16 for Iowa State. So yeah, I mean that's it, guys. I mean, you know, it's not the end of the world that Iowa lost this game, but I have a funny feeling that this game is going to haunt Iowa. Again, the season is not done, and Iowa does have a lot of things that is looking good about them. But they still do have several areas where they need to take massive strides forward to be an NCAA tournament team. Peyton Sandfort, 13 points, 5 rebounds. Owen Freeman, 16 points, 5 rebounds. Josh Dix, 14 points, 4 rebounds. Drew Thelwell, 10 points, 6 rebounds. Brock Harding, 10 points, 2 rebounds. And the game that Lajai Dembele was taken off the starting lineup, he actually has his best game of the season, scoring 11 points and 4 rebounds in 14 minutes. Sadao Traore in 14 minutes, 6 points. And then Price Sanford had a big goose egg in this game. And I actually think that Iowa could have tried to get him minutes. I don't understand why Fran McCaffery plays Peyton Sanford every single minute of the game. I see multiple defensive breakdowns from Peyton Sanford, and his usage rate is terrible. I think Peyton Sanford might be the most like overly used or overly saturated player, overly hyped player that I've seen. I don't know. I mean, the guy consistently plays the most minutes that Iowa has. And I don't think that he is far and away the best player to get those types of minutes. I think that those minutes can go elsewhere. I really do. At least a few here and there. I think Peyton Sanford should be playing more like 35 minutes a game, not 39. And this has been like a consistent thing all year against some of the better teams. So, Brock Harding had a decent game. I do think at times he was dancing way too much with the ball, which Iowa State took advantage of. The thing is, and this is probably the biggest point that I want to make, Iowa's defense, after all the off-season work, is not that much better than it was last year. It's been better, but not that much better. I mean, Iowa is sliding more and more and more in the defensive efficiency ratings. They're 91st, and they're 29th in offensive rating. And I don't know that the NCAA tournament will be possible for them if that remains the case. I mean, making the NCAA tournament was hard enough when they had a top 10 caliber offensive efficiency team. So, we'll see. They sit at 46th in the KenPom ratings. Let's get the net team sheet. I bet it's not even updated yet. The last thing I want to say, just as like a main point, is that there were definitely a lot of fans at the game. Carver Hawkeye, for whatever reason, on the television did not seem as loud as it could be for a game like that. Certainly not like a Kinnick Stadium or a Hilton Coliseum. It was loud. It was. But maybe it's just the way that it sounded on TV. I don't know. I wasn't there. It's hard to say. But there are some times in certain gyms where it is deafeningly loud. Utah, Northwestern, Washington State, and Utah are all 62, 63, and 64 in the net ratings, which is not bad. I think that the neutral site game against Utah will end up being a quad 1 game. Iowa is 49th. And then Iowa is now 57th in the RPI, which isn't used. But they are down 17 spots from Sunday, December 8th. And that's because they've lost twice. So Iowa's team sheet here. No, it won't. Utah won't be a quad 1 game because quad 1 for neutral site is 1 through 50, and Utah is like 60th. But that Utah game is a must win. That Utah game is a must win. There's no ifs, there's no ands, there are no buts. Iowa, if they want to make the NCAA tournament, will have to defeat Utah. That's all there is to it. So, and then after that, They play next. They play New Orleans. Really, of the next three, the only decent game they have coming up is against Utah. But they do have a nice opportunity on the road to pick up another quad one victory against Wisconsin. That will be a major, major opportunity. So, all right, guys, that's pretty much it. I got to wrap this up. It's disappointing. It is, because the win was there for the taking. I know it. You know it. If you saw the highlights, if you saw the game, the win was there for the taking. And unfortunately, this Iowa team did not reach out and grab it. They were flirting with it. They were kind of doing this, but they never officially grabbed it, and it's too bad. They went ice cold down the stretch. The final 6 minutes, Iowa could not buy a bucket. Could not. They totally choked up. They totally got within themselves, got themselves worked up, and lost that basketball game. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. That is what I wanted to say is, I know that there were fans there, but as somebody who does these videos, I can tell that there is a lack of excitement for Iowa basketball. There is, and I did a video on this in the past, where there is an apathy that is developing. And, maybe it is a situation where Fran is a victim of his own success. But, man, if he is not able to take Iowa to the NCAA tournament this year, even if they have a decent year, he's going to be on the hot seat. Because he's just been at Iowa too long, and fans really are struggling to see what the upside is. And a lot of fans are asking themselves, have we seen the best that it can be? And we very well may have. I like the current young group of players that Iowa has, and that's the good news in this loss, is that Iowa really does have a young team. And they have a high ceiling for the first time in a long time. But as far as the fan base goes, there's a lot of people that think that we have seen the best under Fran McCaffery. Now, the good news with Fran McCaffery, one of the best decisions he ever made was bringing Matt Gatens in. And I actually think that he's a prime candidate to replace Fran McCaffery down the line, like we've seen with Duke or North Carolina, where former players become the head coach. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment. Y'all know the drill. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. And facts are feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. I love you, Hawk fans. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.